So I was just about to start editing this video and then I realized I forgot to record any kind of introduction. So you'll notice that right now it's nighttime. I recorded the other bits during the day, so don't be weirded out by that. This is a video just to go through some of the sounds through Cortex and my rig that I've created for an upcoming gig for Dani Marchio. I guess what is the purpose of this? Why am I doing this? I don't know. I think the purpose of this is just to show you can have fun. You can have fun making sounds, particularly for pop. You can have fun making just guitar sounds and stuff. And these are some of the sounds I've created. Hopefully this inspires people to create their own sounds for own things that they're doing and to approach things differently. Yeah, I think that's the point of this. So here we go. So we'll start off with looking at what gear am I using. So this is my pedal board. The main brains of everything is obviously the Cortex, but I'm running a few pedals before it and then also in the loops and things like that. I've got the Boss Super Feedbacker Distortion as the first pedal. This actually, I might use this for one of the songs with feedback sound. You know, when you hold this down, you see the little LED. Maybe, that's a maybe. So it's just there if I want to use it. Chase Bliss Clean is a great compressor pedal, particularly as I usually don't like compressors. That's a video for another day, but this one just particularly makes everything sound better. And then that goes into the Page, which is an amazing tube boost just for the feel under the fingers, basically. I also get most of my sort of gain, just gain sounds. What I mean, like the edge of breakup thing I get out of this pedal rather than say running the amp model is really hard. It's probably all placebo, but I just feel like this sounds and feels a bit better. So now it runs into the Cortex, and then in loop 1 I've got the MI FX Super Blues Pro. I just like having this because you can, dial things on the fly if you're going to change settings really quickly. So that's that. And then in one of the other loops I've got the Timeline, so this is another like a mono delay. And then actually out of the Cortex, I run through the DIG. So this is after. I find this is really useful, just a Cortex tip. Like you get this little lag when you switch presets. I turn this on so that it kind of absorbs the short bit of silence that happens when you change presets. So this kind of helps things to be a bit more continuous in that sense. On the side here, that's a DISO, just so that the outputs from the DIG, which would be TRS jacks, they can be XLR outs, or today I'm using TRS jacks from that as well. So this is the guitar I'll be using. It's a made in Japan Fender Stratocaster. This one in particular, as far as anything goes, it's sort of standard specs like a C neck, all that. But the bridge pickup for this one, it's quite a bit hotter than other Strats, I think. I mean, on a clean sound, that's like the normal Strat thing. But if I go to like a heavier sound, so I mean, not quite a humbucker, but there's just something about this that really cuts through, and it's quite a hot sound, which I really love. Connected with that almost immediately. Why am I using this for Dani's gig? I think particularly there's some songs that has some kind of funk inspired stuff and things where, your position 2, your position 4, you just can't beat that. And also I think just having the one guitar, it's quite versatile to have a Strat as well. You've got 5 different sounds you kind of play with. And depending on how you set up your rig, you can almost have it as like, those in-between positions versus the pickup positions. They always give you like subtleties in gain staging, so that's kind of useful as well. This particular Strat, I have it tuned to drop C. I don't know, I just kind of like that. We've got a few songs in the key of G and C, and so the low C kind of can come into play, which is sort of cool. Some of the songs that we tracked we used octave sounds and stuff like that actually to get those lower sounds. So you almost don't even need it because you've got that octave there. So yeah, this is the guitar I'm using. So I thought I'd start with going through the kind of bass profile that I created for this gig. So generally what I do is I create a bass profile of sort of the main sounds that I might use for the gig. And then I'll use that as, you know, the starting block for making per song sounds, which has the more bespoke effects, as well as setting the foot switch settings and all that kind of stuff for that. But these are the core tones that are shared across all those different song sounds. I like to experiment. The main experiment I did this time is generally what I usually do is I run 2 amps in parallel as like a pedal platform type setting, and then I will add pedals in front of that to get the gain stages. And so the experiment for this gig is, what would it sound like if I use amps for the gain staging? I like to think this approach is the get the most value out of your Quad Cortex approach. Quad Cortex is an amazing piece of gear. It's not in any way cheap, but you get your money's worth, particularly when you use very expensive amp models, I think. So for my clean sound, what I'm using is a Fender Super Reverb, and I've paired that with someone on the community has put up a Dumble ODS capture that they have. So I mean, you can't even buy this amp, right? So money is already made back on the Quad Cortex, honestly. So that sounds like this. Please note, all of these sounds, I've got the Kingsley Page as an always on, so that's giving a little bit of that like when I dig in. Let's just touch lightly, that's doing a lot of that kind of gain compression type stuff in the front. A friend of mine recommended me these Celestion Creamback IRs. I've been using a lot of the stock ones thus far. These have been somewhat of a game changer, I must say. So props to him for recommending these. Because I found that, I think most people will find this, is the stock QC cabs, they sound great or whatever, but you very much have to pair them with whatever amp you want to use it with. So, you know, like the Marshall pairs with the Marshall 4x12, or the Fender with the Fender 1x12, or like the Princeton with the 1x10 even. There's not a lot of stuff you can do with mixing and matching. It just sounds a little weird. Whereas these Celestion Creambacks, like they're pretty set and forget. So I've just got 2 because I can, but I haven't needed to change these with the amps in front of them. So it's just meant that CPU budgeting for the Quad Cortex is a lot better. You're not having to, if you want 3 different amps to play together, you're not needing 3 different cabs as well and having to switch them all and stuff and figure out, do you even have the CPU budget for that? You just use the one IR. And also the frequency characteristic using the one IR kind of makes it a little bit more consistent as well. You're not making huge drastic changes between cab sounds, you know, so it makes it a little bit more manageable in that live environment. Or at least that's the idea. We will find out soon when I do the gig. For my second gain stage, I somehow landed on a Mesa Boogie Dual rectifier. I did have a Plexi style thing here. I found this actually was a bit smoother than the Plexi. Maybe it's to do with the pairing with the ODS. This one here is paired with, so that same guy captures ODS with just different gain settings on it. What does that sound like? Sounds pretty good. And then last but not least, well, probably least used for this gig at least, this is a high gain sound. So this is a diesel VH4, you know, just cause. Just wait, like I have a sound that does use this in there, not quite to this, you know, heaviness extent, but you know, this has a place, this has a use in a pop gig for sure. All right, so I'm gonna go through the sounds that I created to do You Want Me Anyway, which is the latest single from Dani Marchio. So where we're starting off with the guitar, you'll notice there's this guy here, this capo. That is because the intro line, I tried, trust me, I tried. There is no other way to play this with a capo. The intro line goes like this. So that's the intro line. What have I got next? So I have a variant from the intro line, which I use for the turnarounds and stuff. This turns on the delay coming from the timeline and uses that instead of the reverb just so it cleans it up a little. Well, cleans it up, just changes it a little bit. And I also added a bit of gain. So that's. Right, it's a little bit different too. Yeah, just a variation. One is very much the, this is the standout signature part, intro of the song. This one I'm hoping is more like, kind of, it's not so big in terms of the reverb, but that drive with the mid boost from the Super Blues Pro should help it cut a little bit more. One of the interesting things that I had to find a solution for was for just playing the chorus chords. Since I'm at capo 9 here, I ain't got a lot of room to move. I can't do any lower stuff. And so I thought, well, why don't we solve that by using an octave pedal? Seems logical. So this is the sound I ended up using, which will be for the choruses. So the octave helps me get the lower register stuff since I'm all the way up here. If I didn't have that on, it'd be something like... Actually, that doesn't sound too bad. I might choose in the moment what I want to do. And I think that's the beauty of having... So I always set up my QC with the hybrid mode in terms of the switches. So you'll see here at the bottom I've got my scenes. At the top I've got a couple of stomp boxes for all the things that maybe I'd like to turn on and off. Actually, I don't have that many effects on this. And so this is the majority of the effects I'm adding in actually. But you can see here, I'm flipping to here. This is turning on the flange and plate. This is turning on some other stuff. When you kind of know what sound you're going to do, and it's sort of as if it's per section. So like this is, I'm using this for the intro, the dirt I'm using for the chorus, this is for the pre-chorus, this is for verse 2. When it's like specific sections of songs, and I know like this is pretty much the sound I'm going to use. If I turn something on or off, it might even just be easy access for the rehearsal, but I know, okay, that's the sound I'm going to settle on. Like if I don't want that on, then I'll just have that off for that setting, right? I'm not going to be very much playing with the octave pedal during the set, if that makes sense, actually performing. This is more of like a easy access while we're in rehearsal and tweaking stuff. When it's that kind of scenario and there's not a lot of like manual decision making in the moment, I tend to put the scenes at the bottom just so you can easily flip between those sounds with the option of in the moment, if I do change my mind, I can change the things at the top. In a setting like, church or when you're just jamming or something, that's where I'll tend to swap these around actually. And so I rely less on the scenes because at that point, if you're jamming and you're just doing stuff on the fly, you probably don't have any scenes anyway, like you haven't thought about what sounds you can do. And I use more of the, dirt pedals on the bottom because that's when I'm thinking about on this particular point, I want to stack gain and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, the last sound I haven't shown you yet is this guy. There's a lot of cool synth bass stuff in the track itself. For the next upcoming gig, it's just myself, Nick is on keys, Dani obviously singing. So there is no bass player. There is track for the bass, but I thought like, why don't I just double the bass line and double that sound? That'd be cool. And also, this idea came about as well because I had the octave effect in the preset already. And so I can use that for something else. That'd be cool. So the verse is like... This this is missing my friend the VH4. Let us just go and get that. So I mean, here's a bonus lesson on how do you quickly get stuff between presets. There we go. So I have these set up to toggle per scene, and I want this on for this guy. Let's save that now. Save it here actually, because I want the preset to load on this scene. So back to the thing. This is what it sounds like. That's just for fun. That's just gonna be cool. That's just for a vibe, right? Like in particular, what has he got? Oh, I have the love meat. That's the love tone meatball, is it? I think the filter one, right? So if I just turn all this stuff, what's this do? It's doing like a cocktail thing, right? Put that on. Yeah, so like, I just thought that would be fun to do the... Right? Yeah, so those are the sounds.
Boy, in reality, I'm a hurricane. You're the anomaly. Feel like I'm living a dream. You wanna get closer to me. How could you say that I'm your perfect only one? They say love's blind, when your eyes are blind, your face
that was just a playthrough of You Want Me Anyway by Dani Marchio. That's the way I'm intending to play it at the moment, at least, for the gig that's coming up next week, Saturday 14th. If you're in the area, and if you've got $20 spare, come on down. It's going to be a fun night. There was definitely a lot of, she's doing like a 30-minute set. There's some pretty cool custom sounds for all of the songs, but thought I'd just showcase that one, mainly because it's got that synth bass line type thing that's happening in that. If you got any questions about the sounds I was making, what I was doing, or you want links to stuff or whatever, I guess, yeah, post in the comments. I mean, I think the point of this video though isn't so much so you can copy my sounds, but mainly just you can get some ideas on how to approach making your sounds, and you know, how you can experiment, how you can try new things, how you can use great tools like the Cortex, or there's plenty of other great gear out there and stuff. You know, the sky's really the limit these days, and you know, we really are living in the golden age of technology with digital and analog stuff, and you can really do whatever you want. You know, it's just up to your imagination. So I hope this is inspiring, hope this is helpful, hope this is fun to watch and not too long. So yeah, happy days. All right, catch you later. Maybe I'll make another one of these. I don't know. If I should make more videos like this, let me know. Yeah, cool. See you later.